in Indiana, but Indiana pretty good ball club.
Obviously, LeBron's a great player, and people are starting to question where he ranks all time. I know you played a season with the Bulls. I know that was the year that Michael had the broken foot. Just having been around him, what you've seen from LeBron, how do you think those two compare?
Well, I don't think there's no comparison. I think Mike had his era and had his time, and we've seen some tremendous things that Mike accomplished and won championships.
George Gervin just said what a lot of people have been thinking for years, but nobody dared to say it out loud on live TV. The NBA legend didn't dance around it, didn't soften it, and didn't blink for a second. He looked straight into the camera and went after LeBron James' legacy in a way nobody expected. He didn't call it overrated. He didn't call it misunderstood. He called it manufactured, orchestrated, and straight up fake. In a jaw-dropping interview that's still shaking the basketball world in early 2025, the Iceman took apart LeBron's carefully built image piece by piece, and what he revealed is about to flip the whole GOAT conversation upside down.
Arguments for Michael. I mean, what this guy has done has been nothing short of incredible. The longevity, and I always say, being called king at 15 and how he turned out and what he's done for communities where he played and changed so many lives. So he's a very, very special athlete, and I think for now we need to appreciate that watching him and at the level he's playing at.
When you look at his IQ,
this wasn't some random hot take meant to trend for a day. This was a Hall of Famer stepping into dangerous territory and dismantling the biggest myth modern basketball has been selling for over a decade. Picture this: January 2025. George Gervin sits down for what everyone assumed would be a calm, routine interview about today's NBA. The Iceman himself, cool, relaxed, collected like always. 4-time scoring champion, Hall of Famer, a player who dominated both the ABA and the NBA with that finger roll nobody could stop. But something shifted the moment LeBron James's name came up and the never-ending GOAT debate entered the room.
I don't look at nobody like me. I mean, everybody got their own style. Kevin Durant, if you think about it, he scored like I did. I mean, I don't think he scored like me, but he scored as many times as I did. I look at the kid from Milwaukee, Giannis. I think he more so moves like I did on the floor. He don't have a jump shot yet, but he still can play.
Gervin's tone changed. His posture changed, the temperature dropped fast, and everyone watching could feel it. What came next caught everybody off guard. Gervin leaned forward with the same intensity he used to bring on the court and said it plain. LeBron's legacy is manufactured. He said it was carefully constructed by the media, by executives, by people protecting a brand, not just a player. And he added that most people are scared to say it because of what LeBron represents. But I'm not afraid, Gervin made clear. The studio went silent. The host tried to jump in, tried to soften the moment, but Gervin wasn't done, not even close.
I think Mike had his era and had his time, and we've seen some tremendous things that Mike accomplished and won championships. LeBron had won one. We haven't seen anybody like LeBron before. Size-wise, speed-wise, just his physique itself is so impressive. So it's hard for me to compare him.
When asked for his NBA Finals picks, no surprise, Gervin, who works in the Spurs front.
This wasn't a retired player chasing attention. This was a deliberate breakdown of everything LeBron has built over a 20-year career. Within minutes, the clip was everywhere. Twitter exploded. Instagram went into meltdown mode. The hashtag Gervin versus LeBron started trending worldwide. Fans were split down the middle. Some called Gervin bitter, washed, jealous. Others said he finally said what everyone was too scared to admit. Here's what made this hit differently. George Gervin had nothing to gain from this. He's already legendary, already respected, already in the Hall of Fame with his legacy secure, which raised one huge question: why now? Why would a 72-year-old legend risk backlash to challenge the biggest name in modern basketball? The answer was simple: because sometimes the truth matters more than being liked. Gervin didn't waste time easing into it. He went straight at the super team era LeBron helped normalize. You want to know the difference between real greatness and manufactured success? Gervin asked, his voice calm but sharp. He said real legends built where they were drafted. They made teammates better instead of calling friends and saying, "Hey, let's team up so we can guarantee rings." And there it was. The decision, Even in 2025, 15 years later, it still stings. It still divides fans. It still defines how many people view LeBron's career. Gervin broke it down with precision. In his era, in Jordan's era, in Magic and Bird's era, you stayed and fought. You didn't handpick co-stars. You didn't push trades behind the scenes to stack the deck. You worked with what you had, and if you were truly great, you made it work. Gervin didn't stop there. He walked through every championship. LeBron's first ring came after joining Dwyane Wade and Chris Bosh. The next two came after Cleveland brought in Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love. Then he went to Los Angeles and the roster got flipped for Anthony Davis. You see the pattern? Gervin said. Every championship has an asterisk in my book because it wasn't built, it was bought. That's why this criticism cuts so deep. LeBron has never won a championship without another superstar next to him. His legacy is tied to super teams whether people like it or not, and Gervin wasn't letting that slide. But he didn't stop at super teams. Gervin went even harder by calling out the media itself. He said the media plays defense for LeBron every step of the way. When LeBron wins, it's called genius. When he loses, it's blamed on teammates. When he demands moves, it's championship mentality. When others do it, it's labeled disloyal. You can't manufacture greatness, Gervin said with finality. Either you have it or you don't. He added that no amount of ESPN specials, controlled narratives, or polished PR campaigns can change what actually happened on the court. Social media went into overdrive again. LeBron supporters fired back instantly. 4 championships, 4 MVPs, all-time leading scorer, they shouted. But Gervin's supporters pushed back just as hard. Context matters, loyalty matters, competition matters, and the divide kept growing. Then came the moment everyone expected, the Michael Jordan comparison. The host asked if LeBron was at least close to Jordan's level, trying to balance the discussion. The look Gervin gave him said everything. There's no comparison, Gervin stated flatly. He made it clear he wasn't denying LeBron's talent. The man can play, he said, but Michael Jordan was different. A different mindset, a different level of accountability. Gervin broke it down calmly. Jordan never left Chicago to chase rings. He stayed, failed, improved, and dominated. 6 championships, 6 finals, no shortcuts, no stacking the deck. And just like that, the GOAT debate wasn't just loud again, it was on fire. MVPs never needed a Game 7, never joined forces with rivals to make things easier, Gervin said, laying it out clean and cold. He explained that Michael Jordan built a dynasty off pure willpower and competitive fire, not shortcuts. When things got tough, Jordan didn't look for an exit plan. He hit the gym, sharpened his edge, and went right through whoever stood in front of him. That's the gap between a real legacy and a manufactured one. And the comparison hurt because it lined up perfectly with what critics have been saying about LeBron for years. When the pressure got heavy in Cleveland the first time, he left. When things got uncomfortable in Miami, he left. When the Lakers missed the playoffs, the roster got blown up. There's always been an escape hatch, always a reset button when things didn't go according to plan. And Gervin wasn't done yet. He went straight for the stat LeBron supporters hate the most. The finals record, 4 wins, 6 losses, 10 finals appearances is impressive, no doubt. But it's also 6 losses on the biggest stage basketball has to offer. Jordan went 6 for 6, perfect when it mattered most. The reaction was instant and aggressive. LeBron supporters flooded every platform. The East was weak back then. LeBron faced tougher competition. Context matters? Same arguments, same defenses, same cycle. But Gervin's point stayed firm. Perception versus reality. With Jordan, you never had to explain his greatness. You never had to defend it. With LeBron, the legacy comes with footnotes, excuses, context, and constant debate. And maybe that's exactly what Gervin meant when he called it manufactured. Real greatness doesn't need PR teams or media campaigns to convince you it exists. You just know. Then Gervin shifted gears, and this is where things really got uncomfortable. He zoomed out and looked at the modern NBA as a whole. The league today is soft, he said without hesitation. The rules favor offense. You can't hand check. You can't play real physical defense. Everything is a foul. And don't even get him started on load management. That old school argument drives younger fans crazy, but Gervin backed it up with specifics. In his era, you played through pain. You showed up night after night. No sitting out back-to-backs just to stay fresh for later. LeBron, according to Gervin, benefited from an era designed for players like him to thrive. The spacing, the rule changes, the reduced physicality, all of it creates an environment where athletic, skilled players dominate without facing the same resistance older generations dealt with. And technically, he wasn't wrong. The NBA has changed dramatically over the last 2 decades. Rule changes opened the floor, boosted perimeter play, and stripped away much of the physical defense that defined the 80s and 90s. Whether that makes the game easier is debatable, but different? Absolutely. But this is where Gervin turned the heat all the way up. Accountability. Where did it go? If you lose, you blow up the roster and try again. If you're unhappy, you demand a trade. If the media criticizes you, you label them haters and shield yourself behind your brand. According to Gervin, real pressure doesn't exist anymore. And now, this wasn't just about LeBron. It was about a whole generation of NBA stars raised in an era where player empowerment sometimes looks more like entitlement. Loyalty takes a back seat. Championships are chased. Legacies are managed more carefully than actual on-court results. The backlash came fast. Younger fans called Gervin out of touch. The game evolved. Players having power is a good thing, and maybe it is. But his point about accountability lingered like smoke you can't clear. Critics dismissed him as a bitter old head stuck in the past, but supporters rallied hard. They said he was speaking facts. The generational divide in basketball had never looked this wide. Then Gervin went straight at the elephant in the room. The media. ESPN has been running PR for LeBron for 20 years, Gervin said with a knowing smile. Every narrative is controlled. Every storyline is managed. He questioned whether it's really a coincidence that criticism of LeBron gets labeled as hate. That's not organic, he said. That's strategic. That was dangerous territory, calling out the machine that shapes modern sports conversation. But Gervin didn't flinch. He broke down why the media goes so easy on LeBron, and it wasn't just about basketball anymore. Gervin pointed straight at the money. He said LeBron's business moves, his production company, media deals, investments, created a setup where networks have a financial reason to keep LeBron's image looking spotless. Because when someone is that big, that connected, that powerful, criticism starts getting massaged before it hits the screen. Failures get explained away. Messy moments get minimized. And anything that could damage the brand somehow disappears from the conversation. Gervin even gave LeBron his credit. He said LeBron is a brilliant businessman and he respects that. But then he drew the line hard. Don't confuse business success with basketball greatness. Those are 2 different lanes. And somewhere along the way, the lanes got mixed together. Now people don't even know if they're cheering for an athlete or protecting a brand. And that's what made this hit so deep. LeBron isn't just a player anymore. He's an empire, a whole machine. And Gervin's point was simple but nasty. When your legacy is tied to business interests, when your image is handled by PR teams, when every move is calculated for maximum brand impact, how much of what we're seeing is even real anymore? That question just sat there in the air, uncomfortable and unanswered. Social media went crazy again. LeBron's defenders started pushing the usual stuff. Longevity, consistency, impact on and off the court. He's more than a player. He changed the game. He's a cultural icon. And they're not wrong. But Gervin's point still stood like a brick wall. Does being a successful brand make you a greater basketball player? The answer should be easy. But in 2025, people act like it's illegal to say out loud. And the aftermath looked exactly like today's NBA internet world. Instant, loud, split right down the middle. Former players jumped in fast. Some backed Gervin, some defended LeBron. The generational divide was obvious. A lot of the older era voices agreed with Gervin's angle, while players closer to LeBron's era pushed back hard. And once that started, it became a full-on war across every platform. Sports shows ran whole segments. Podcasts turned it into a weekly series. Comment sections looked like a fight club. Everybody had a take and nobody was trying to hear the other side. But under all the noise, Gervin's critique exposed something bigger about basketball culture in 2025. Legacy isn't just about what you do anymore. It's about how you control the story around what you do. Media presence, brand management, strategic image crafting. LeBron is the top example of that modern approach. He's elite at it. He built an empire and played the game off the court like a pro too. But with that comes a different type of heat that older superstars didn't deal with the same way. Because when you control the narrative that tightly, when every detail is polished and managed, people start asking questions about authenticity. They start wondering what's real and what's curated. And that's what Gervin was really poking at. So now the real question for fans becomes, what actually makes a legacy real? Is it rings, MVPs, longevity, cultural impact? Or is it something deeper? How you got it, what choices you made, what roads you took, what you avoided, and what you ran straight through? There isn't one clean answer, but Gervin's interview forced everyone to stare at the question head on whether they liked it or not. And even if LeBron's legacy survives this, and it will because he's too accomplished for one interview to erase anything, Gervin's words are going to keep popping back up. Every time the GOAT debate flares up again, somebody is going to bring this up because once it's said out loud, you can't unhear it. But don't lock your opinion in yet, because Gervin didn't stop at the business talk. He also spoke on LeBron's actual basketball IQ and skill set. And this is where it gets really interesting, because it's not what people expect. The interview wrapped with one final point that summed up Gervin's whole argument perfectly. "I'm not saying LeBron isn't great," Gervin said. "I'm saying greatness and legacy aren't the same thing." He made it clear you can be a great player and still have a manufactured legacy, and until people understand that difference, the same circular debates will keep spinning with no real conclusion. Mic drop. The sports world hasn't stopped buzzing since. Some called it disrespectful, others called it overdue honesty, but everyone agreed on one thing. George Gervin said what millions of people have been thinking but were too afraid to say out loud. In January 2025, the Iceman proved he still had ice in his veins, and LeBron James' carefully constructed legacy took a real hit. Nobody saw it coming like this. Now the real question isn't whether you agree with Gervin or not. The real question is whether this conversation can even happen without turning into a full-blown war. And judging by the reaction, the answer looks like no. That might be the biggest problem with basketball discourse in 2025. Nuance is gone. Everything is tribal now. You're either with LeBron or against him. There's no middle space. No room for fair critique without being labeled a hater. But Gervin didn't seem worried about any of that. He said his piece, stood on it, and walked away. And in doing so, he reminded everyone of something that's been missing for a long time. Sometimes legends earn the right to say uncomfortable truths, especially when nobody wants to hear them. So now we're left with the million-dollar question splitting the basketball world right down the middle. Is George Gervin right? Is LeBron's legacy manufactured, or is this just another case of an old-school legend struggling to accept how the game has changed? Think about everything that was laid out: the super team era, the Jordan comparison, the media machine, the accountability question, the difference between greatness and legacy. Now ask yourself this. When you think about LeBron James 20 years from now, what will stand out most? The championships, the stats, the decision, the team hopping, the brand, probably all of it. And maybe that's exactly Gervin's point. Real legacy doesn't need defending. It doesn't need context. It doesn't need a media campaign to explain it. It just exists. But a manufactured legacy, that needs constant protection, constant explanation, constant narrative control. So which one does LeBron really have? That's for you to decide. Are you leaning Gervin or leaning LeBron? And more importantly, can this conversation even happen without everyone picking sides and going to war? Because if this interview proved anything, it's that basketball discourse in 2025 isn't just divided, it's locked in tribal mode. And until that changes, debates about greatness might stay louder than they are honest.